So when we talk about navigating the vertical challenges in high-rise design, we also need to understand the reason of going high-rise and what is the challenges which we started with and where we are moving ahead with it. Now, this is a small, quick example of what is Mumbai. It covers only 6.5% in public green spaces. Rest 93% is all occupied, out of which I can say another 10% is open by private green spaces further up. Now, to come to the picture on the right, what we see is a highly dense architecture building a vertical building made to accommodate people, since they have been migrating towards the metro cities, and they are going vertical for creating a very dense urbanization of livelihood. Coming to whole of this impact on the social person who's going to be using that space is a lot of mental stress, because he's been confined into a smaller and smaller spaces. Unknowingly, he's doing that probably, but that is the fact what is happening. And as an architect, we are supposed to look into that factor as a much serious problem into high-rise building. And how do we cater by using high-rise as a tool to come to a solution which finally trickles down for the users, the humans, to explore and become a better person around. Okay, so what we can see here is that we do not see any public spaces left open here in that high dense atmosphere. So these are the new takes of modern architecture, where you have spaces which have been made for these social conditions in a high-rise atmosphere, where everything is very structured. It's a very systematically designed, implemented program where you have clubhouses, you have restaurants, all those things built inside a space. What happens due to this is in this same constrained areas, although there is a lot of public spaces made in these high-rise buildings, a human is a person, user, is constrained to use only the choice which has been available there. He doesn't have the freedom to create his own different choices or to have more options to on his own. So that gives him the freedom of choice, but they lose the freedom of creation. Creating curiosity inside him to do something different, exploration. All these characters of a human is getting lost into this whole process, because you have swimming pools, you have clubhouses, you have restaurants, you have office spaces. So you are forced to be inside those few choices which have been put together by the designers around, and of course the promoters also. So now these are the situations which are being very progressively put ahead in architecture of a futuristic design. So all good, very good. At least it's much better than having nothing. But now further up, we need to start thinking further. And so now here is a take from a quick study from what countries like Singapore has been trying to do. Is to create larger open spaces which are publicly opened for general use. There are large podiums, there are large green spaces, vertical green facades have been created to create calmness in the human who is using it or who is going to experience that from outside. Now, these high rises are quite good. There's a very good take on an attempt of creating a better space. They've been matured up very well. So what we need to understand here is this enough? Is this creating more space for the humans which have been compactly placed in a high rise to use it? Or is it what we need to do, keep on doing it as the long-term approach for high rise structures? And how do we plan those high rise structures around it? So coming to the next slide is like, how do you create alternative thinkings? So what are different takes in a high-rise structure? The different takes is to create large open podium spaces where people who come down have their own creative ways of using those spaces. They are not forced into a particular restricted areas. and how do they socially create their own social being around, and being a more spontaneous inside the social reactions towards the society, towards themselves, and how well creative they as a human they become. So these are the takes which I feel is the future, which we are looking into high-rise structures, having more of green facades, which are, of course, not green facades as a skin only, as a usable space, and larger spaces of podiums where it is undefined for people to jog, run, whatever, make a castle of sand over it, so vertical spaces. Now, having vertical space, high rise building is a necessity because of the densification of the urban country. So what consciously needs to be done is, how do you create high rise but still keep the motherland open? That is the final destination which we should look into by achieving a high-rise building. In the design of high-rise building, is the most important part is, how do you create land, which is the most important property here for any human to work around with. So these are, like, there's a project in Milan which everyone knows about. So it's about the front garden spaces, what has been achieved out of a vertical rise, and that is creating the sustainability of high rise building to exist for long term. All these buildings do not have a very long span of life. They will change their usage in time. Also, they will also have a different approach every time. So the challenge here is to create higher buildings, and so that we end up with more and more green spaces on the mother earth. So my take has been slightly of here, pushing the limit of the topic slightly on the weird side, was that high rise is taken as a challenge only as a structure, and it's all different issues. But at the back of it, it is all about creating spaces around it for humans to enjoy the space. So this is one of our project which we are doing now, in which we have tried to achieve the same, is to create. So it's about 3,000 odd people going to live into this small complex of vertical rise. And then how do you create spaces for them to enjoy the larger green spaces? How even the podium is kept totally empty for them to move around across the land, so that they can have their own per square feet space of a human when they are in the open space. So it's like, how do I create urban forest in that situation? These are some of our plans. I have only showcased here the plan in which the greens are there to relate. So to the topic which I have chosen here to speak over, is the lighter green showcases the land over the podium, and the darker green is the Mother Earth, trying to create a larger proportion of Mother Earth here. And how do you characterize different topics? I think so. This is too sincere. So let's not move into it.